Swaminathan Aiyar. Let's hear him out and his take on how the recovery and revival is likely to shape up, what are the measures needed, and how things are at the moment.
The so-called stimulus is just crumbs from a miser's table. I mean, this is ridiculous. In the United States, the first package was almost 10% of GDP, and there's going to be a second package and maybe a third package. There are other countries, Japan and so on. Everybody is going for stimuluses of 10-15%. And please understand, in many cases, this will not be a stimulus. Despite spending this money, GDP will go down. I mean, the word stimulus normally means that you go up. So this is not even it's a wrong word. It is desperate damage control money. And why India has not gone on a more adventurous route, I do not know. What has happened with both Urjit Patel, especially Urjit Patel and Raghu Rajan, two former RBI governors, they have given a warning that, if you go on a big spending spree, they say India's fiscal deficit was already large. If you now have a situation of a very large new deficit, which is done basically by printing money, India may lose its credit level rating with international agencies. And if India is then downgraded to junk, and there is a huge outflow of money out of India, this is something India should worry about. Well, I would agree. It's something that every country has to worry about. It's not an Indian worry. And I would say if it's something that everybody has to worry about, I would worry less than anybody else because we are all in the same boat. And if everybody else is having a big stimulus, why not us? So I would say that the RBI needs to be adventurous. We need to monetize very large deficits. I said that money in Jan Dhan accounts can be tripled immediately, later on quintupled. Arvind Subramanian has put forward an idea of, okay, let's have 10 lakh crores. It's like 5% of GDP. Yeah. I mean, you can start with that. But I would say above all, the stimulus, this is damage control, this is not a stimulus. The only way the biggest stimulus will be to restart the economy and ease off the lockdown. I mean, you have to enable enterprises to work. I mean, just shoveling out a little money, this is like saying, okay, you missed a meal, so here is a crumb or two. This is not reviving the economy. This is going to worsen the situation. So it's all very well to say, I have a lockdown for 3 weeks. I have a lockdown for 6 weeks. But you have to restart the economy.
But Swami, in your not the last column, last to last column, your last column was dedicated to China and the policy action that has been taken. I'll get to that in a bit. You have made a case where you have said that the prolonged lockdown will in fact kill more people and make more people miserable than the lives that are saved from the lockdown. That it can make India have the worst economy it's ever had in modern times, in independent India. That forget 1991, we could have a worse growth rate than that. On what basis are you arriving at this decision? I want to understand that, because if you look at the Reserve Bank of India, for example, it has held off on making a projection, say, now is not the time to do it. We just don't have enough parameters or a big enough crystal ball that we can gaze into and figure it out.
I would agree that any projection is hazardous. It depends on whether you expect a V-shaped recovery, whether in the second half of the year. We have no idea. I mean, the history of previous viruses is that it will come back in a second wave in November. I mean, if that happens, all bets are off. So, the assumptions matter. One hard data that we have from CMI is that unemployment has gone from 8% to 26%. Please don't tell me that when unemployment goes from 8 to 26%, that the economy is going to be growing or something. It is a disastrous drop. Disastrous. And that's why I said the biggest stimulus is to get India back to work. For that, what matters is not just the survival of individuals, but the survival of enterprises. This is the point that Pranav Roy, our former chief statistician, has made very strongly. I mean, 65% of our enterprises are small fellows, and they have been cut off from finance, they have been cut off from supplies. So if you try to push money out through the banks, that is not going to work. The banks are risk averse. The banks are afraid, especially the public sector banks, of so many fiascos. They say, I may be arrested for not having looked properly into a thing. This will become another Nirav Modi scandal. And the banks only want to push out money to the big boys. If you want to get to the 65 million smaller enterprises,